Hi viewers and welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at Lattice 2 workbench using the part design pattern. With the part design pattern, what we can do is create something like these latches that run around the outside of this as a single body, like here, and repeat this pattern around here with something called a reference sketch. So this sketch here has a number of lines in it that allow you to reference this body across this object and repeat it across the object. Normally the lines are L-shaped lines, but you can actually do it with single lines like this. Adding more lines to this geometry. For instance, if I add one down here, as you can see the lines come in here, and we put a bit of alignment on there. If I hit close, that latch has been added. Therefore, we can add more geometry in here just by adding the lines that will repeat this feature across here. So for instance, I've imported the two edges and I'm adding a number of lines in here, like so. I'll zoom in, just add a bit of a constraint in there and hit close. You can see those latches have been added. It also means that we can align these, so I can take these 2 points of these latches and place alignments and constraints using simple geometry constraints to the alignments of the latches to create the finished object. We'll be showing how to do latches and also pockets in there. So if you had a pocketed feature and say you wanted a number of holes in here, we're going to show you how to do that as well. So I hope you're enjoying these videos. I hope this is helping with the Lattice 2 workbench, and let's have a look at these techniques. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. For this tutorial in the part design, we're also going to make sure that on the add-on manager in the tools drop down, we have the Lattice 2 workbench installed. I've already got it installed, so I've got it installed here, but you can install it from the add-on manager to complete this tutorial. We're going to create a lid with a lip that has a number of latches along. The idea is for the lid to actually fit inside the box and clip into place. So for that we need a lid. So I'm going to create a new body and create a new sketch and look down along the XY plane and hit OK. First of all, I'm going to get my dimensions of my lid in. So for that we just need a simple rectangle. And I'm going to make sure that this is centered over this midpoint by selecting opposite corners, these opposite points, and then lastly the midpoint, and using the symmetrical constraint. Now this has symmetry across this point. We can set some dimensions. Select the top line, place a length in here, horizontal length of 150 millimeters. And now I'm going to do the same for this one as well. So a vertical length of about 100 millimeters. You can see that everything is fully constrained. Hit close, and we're going to pad this up around 3 millimeters. So this is the start of our lid. We need to add a ridge or a lip in here to fit inside the box. So I'm going to select this face. You see the pad is selected. If we double click, what will happen is the whole lot will select that whole pad. We just want the face. Click on the sketch. That'll create a sketch on that face. We got the auto constraints on and the avoid redundant auto constraints on as well. We're going to create the lip. So we're going to use a rectangle inside and another one. So this will create once it's padded, this shape attached to this lid. So we'll get a ridge that runs all the way around here. I'm going to use the create an edge link to external geometry and bring in these 2 points. And then start constraining. So we're going to hit escape. And this point and this point we're going to set to 3 millimeters height, vertical constraint, and also a horizontal constraint. We're going to do the same for the bottom as well. So this point and this point. And this will fully constrain that geometry. This means the box will be 3 millimeters thick with the walls. So now we're going to do the same with this one. So this point and this point. And we're going to do 3 millimeters as well. And do the same for this one. These dimensions are totally up to you. Now that sketch is fully constrained, we can close. Make sure the sketch is slatted and pad it. I'm going to pad this one 3 millimeters as well. So now we get this ridge. So the idea is that we have a box and this sits inside the box to stop this ridge from moving, to stop this lid from moving. But we'll be able to remove this without any latching systems on here. We're going to create a latch now. So now we've got one body. We're going to call it a lid. I'm just going to save this. And now we're going to create the latch. For that, we're going to do another body in here. So I'm going to hide this lid body. We're going to take note of this width, which is 3 millimeters. Click on that lid body, press space, that will hide it. And then we'll create a new body and a new sketch along the XY plane and hit OK. So this is looking down the same as what we got the lid, so from the same plane. I'm going to zoom in and create a rectangle in here. Again, we're going to use these 2 points and this center point and use the symmetry. I'm going to set one side, this side, to the width of the ridge, which is 3 millimeters, and that's set this side to 5 millimeters. So we've got our starts of the latch. Go to task, hit close, and let's zoom in, and that's pad that to around about 10 millimeters and hit OK. For this to work, I want to take some material away from here, so there's a gap in here and we can have a ridge that snaps into here. So on the box, around the inside edge, there will be a lip that will fit into here and this will snap in. I'm going to select the side face and create a sketch. And I'm going to import some top geometry, so this point here, and then create a rectangle in here. So I'm just going to place a rectangle. I haven't attached it to this center line. I'm going to hit escape and make sure this point and this point are vertically aligned, so they're in line and they keep in line. And we'll set the height of this, so this will be material that's taken away, to 3 millimeters. So we've got that in there. You may want to do this slightly bigger, so 3.25. This allows a bit of gap for the actual ridge to go in here. Let's set a depth, say 1.5 millimeters, and set a length away from the top. So this point and this point of around about 3 millimeters. So hit close. Our sketch has been added to there. So click on that sketch. I'm going to use the pocket now, and that'll pocket all the way through there, and we'll go up to the first face and hit OK. So now that's in there. And what will happen if we look at our lid body, right click, transform, so we get an idea of where this sits. This will sit on this edge, like so, and clip to the side of the box from the inside. Just going to OK that and hit Ctrl Z because I don't want to move this body. So all the bodies are back to the original position, so we can see the position there. We're now going to use Lattice 2 to duplicate this up along this edge, point them in the correct direction, and allow this feature to be integrated into this model. For that I need some placements, and also got to make sure that the right bodies are being selected for the placements that I'm creating. So for instance, this body is in bold, so this is the active body. If the other one was active, right click, toggle active body. You can now see that this body is active and the other one isn't. I'm going to work with the latch. So I'm going to rename that latch, latch body. And I'm going to add a placement to that body. So first of all, I'm going to make sure that it's active. Right click, toggle active body. So the latch now is in bold. Come over to the Lattice 2 workbench. We're going to hide the lid and we're going to work on this. I'm going to select this edge, this one here, and come up to Lattice 2, attach placement, and I'm going to select Z tangent to edge. A placement kite has been added with the Z axis, this one here, this is the Z axis of the kite, it's tangent to that edge. We've got to flip this round so it's pointing this way. So come down to the round X, round Y and Z, and we can start rotating this. So we're going to rotate it around the Y. So this is the Y of the kite. And we'll set that to minus 90 degrees. And then start rotating around the X of the kite, this one here. So you can see how that's rotating. And this one's minus 90 as well. So that's been placed in the correct position, so pointing this way. So our aim is to get kite on kite on the other body. So this kite will be pointing this way, and this will be placed at the point of origin of the kite. So this point here, using the axis of the kite. So the kite runs this way, and X runs this way, and Z runs through the back, through this way. Let's come up and hit OK. That's the kite placed on our latch. We can now work on the body. So let's hide the latch and show the body. I need to toggle this body, toggle active body. So click on it, right click, toggle active body. You'll be thrown into part design, but if we look at the model, we can see that the lid body is now active. I need to be in the part design because I need to add a sketch to this surface. So I need to add a sketch to here, and this will be a placement sketch. So we're not going to do any pockets or pads with this sketch. It's purely for placement. So click that face and create a new sketch. I'm going to pull in some geometry. So I'm going to pull in these edges. Now I'm going to create some geometry in here that will create a number of kites that we can align those latches to. So import an edge, create an edge linked to external geometry, and we'll select this edge and this edge. For now, we'll move over to these edges in a moment, and we need to create a line. So I'm going to create a line. We can create an L shape or a line, it's up to you, but it's always the way this is created. So watch the way we work with this. I'm going to work from inside out. So I've got the auto constraints on, so I'm auto constraining to this line. Zoom in a bit. Click, and then I'm coming up. I want my vertical constraints on. So you can see the line has appeared, and I'm auto constraining with a point on line constraint to this one. So we work from bottom to top, or inside to outside. And what we'll do is do the same over here. Inside to outside. And if we was doing this over here, we would go inside to outside. Actually, let's import those two edges and create a line going from inside to outside, and making sure that we've got some horizontal geometry in there. Let's hit close. Now we've got those lines, so you can see a number of lines going around here. We're not going to pad or pocket this, as I said before. This is purely for placement. Let's take the first one we created, this one here, and click on it. So click on that line. But first we need to be in the Lattice 2 workbench, so I'm not going to unselect that. Come over to the Lattice 2. We're going to make sure the body is active, so the lid body is active, because we want to add a placement to this. So click on that line, come up to Lattice 2, come down to attach placement and attach placement. Make sure the Z is tangent to edge, and we're going to manipulate the X, Y, and Z. So we can see how that kite's been placed. Remember how we wanted the latch to be placed, and we want the latch to be facing this way with the ridge that's been removed this way. So we've got to place this in the correct position. We can come back and change this if we want, if we get it wrong. But that's rotate around the Y. So 90 degrees. And then rotate around the X. That's minus 90 degrees. So we've got that kite there. Our latch will be placed at the point of origin there in this orientation or rotation. Let's hit OK. And if I bring back the latch body, we can see that there. Let's click on this, press the spacebar, and we can see how that's going to be placed. So this kite will marry up to this kite here. Now I'm looking at this and thinking that if I bring back the pad, we can see that's going to be incorrect. So this is going to sit basically on this edge. We want it sitting forwards on this edge. So let's come into that placement that we placed, this one here, and double click it, zoom in, and we'll come down and manipulate the X, Y, and Z direction. So we've got this manipulation of direction here. So we're going to move it not in the X or the Y, but in the Z. So back and forth here. So we'll move this to here. So minus 3 millimeters forwards. And hit OK. So now that's sitting on the edge. And we're ready to go. I need to array these placements across the whole sketch. So all these lines going across the sketch. I'm going to click on the placement, come up to Lattice 2, attach placement, and then array and attach placement. That will add all of these across here like so. And you can see the body is active and it's been placed in the correct body. This is important. It must always be placed in the correct body. If this one was active and we did this, then this placement will appear in this latch body. And it will cause problems when we go to do the next action. It will even cause a crash if we're not careful. So make sure that next stage we do that the lid body is the active body. And we need to select these in order. So I'm going to array this against all of these kites. So you can see how they're pointing. And there's going to be kite upon kite. So first select the latch, the one that you want to array. Control select its placement. And then control select inside the lid body this placement subsequence has been made. Now I advise you to save at this point just in case you've got it wrong. Go up to Lattice 2 and then select Lattice Part Design Pattern. When we click that, you can see how those have been placed upon that edge and the sketches there that they've been placed upon. We can hide that sketch if we want, and also we can hide this body. Let's press the spacebar because we don't need that. And those have been placed along that edge. Let's add another part to our sketch. So I want a placement using this line coming in, and I'm going to place it here and here. So what do you think will happen? Well, because we've placed it there, you just hit close, and we've got another one that's been attached. So we don't have to go through any other changes to our part. We just add these in. If we've got this sketch, then we can add constraints in here. So this point and this point, I can use a length in here, say 30 millimeters, and we can do the same on the other side. So this point and this point, and place a length in here of 30, and hit close, and we've created a constrained latch between those. Now at this point, it's a word of advice for you: don't try to create these latches, so this latch body with fillets, chamfers, mirrors or polar patterns. Those features won't work with this placement. If I wanted to create, say, a chamfer in here, I would have to do this manually by editing the sketch. So I can come into this lattice body, come into the pocket, this one here, and what I do is just hide this body and we'll add a chamfer to this. So I want to chamfer across here, and click that sketch. Make sure I'm in the part design first. So click that face, create sketch. Now you see this has come up. This is because we haven't created an active body here. So this body isn't active. You can see it's not in bold. Right click, toggle active body. Now we can add the sketch. Click that face, add that sketch. We're in the sketch, and I'm going to use the polyline, and I'm going to take away this edge here. So I'm just going to place a triangle in here. I'm going to use that triangle and pocket that triangle to remove that along there. I haven't constrained it, I'm just showing you this. If I hit OK, what will happen with that body, if we look back, you can see that's been added to there. So any amendments to this gets added to this body. Let's say I wanted to create some holes in here and repeat the holes. So this is a bit different because we're starting off with a pocket. So what do? Well, we need to add some geometry, and when we go to array that geometry, we need to ignore the first feature. This can be easily done in the same process. So let's create a body that has a pocket first. So I'm going to start with a pocket. So let's hide that latch, this one here, and create a new body and a new sketch on the XY plane again, and OK. And we'll hide this lid body as well. So pressing the spacebar on the lid body just hides that. See the body 002 is active, and we'll create a circle here which we're going to pocket, but we can't because we need something to pocket this into. So I'm going to start again with basically a square So this allows me to pocket into this square. We're going to do the same, take the points and this center point and create symmetry between those. Go to task, hit close. We now got this, and we've got to think about how deep we want to pocket. So if we want to only take away, say, a couple of millimeters, then we must make this feature slightly bigger than the depth that we want to pocket. If we want to go through all, then we can set this to a depth. That's either the depth of the actual lid, or we can use the through all to first in here. So I know that my lid is 3 millimeters in height. So we're going to add that in there for the height. Click this top face and create a sketch. And this is going to be the hole that I want to place in here. So I'm going to place a hole in here, or a circle. Hit escape and set some radius. So 2.5 millimeters there. 5 millimeters a hole. Hit close. And we'll pocket that. And we're going to go to first. So that's going to go all the way through there. And hit OK. May want to reduce this down a bit, but we'll leave it like that for the time being. I'm going to add another feature here, so I'm going to click on this face and create a sketch, and we'll add a circle and another circle like so. Set some radius, so 3 millimeters on that one. And this one is going to be 4 millimeters. Hit close, and we'll just pad that slightly. So 2 millimeter pad on that one. So we've got this feature here. Let's bring back our lid body and see how that's going to sit. So you can see from there how that's going to sit upon there. And this is going to pocket all the way through with this ridge. What we're going to do now is create a sketch in here to place this feature across this sketch. So for starts, we need to make sure that the lid body is active. Right click, toggle active body. So we're dealing with the lid now. We'll create a sketch in here. New sketch. And we can start adding the geometry to actually place this in those different points. I'm going to use a line. Now the reason why some people use the L shape is because you can see it as an axis, basically the X that runs through the kite and the Y that goes along here. Remember the Z is this point here that runs towards us, and this will be the point of origin. You can use lines like this, but make sure that the lines run in the same direction. So run those two this way. I'm going to hit escape and put a vertical constraint in there. Hit close. We've got those lines in there. I'm actually round the other way to the top, so I'm going to click on top so we can see that. So those are there. Now this is a good reason why you should use the L, because now I've flipped it around to the top. I'm not sure how I've created these, which direction I've created these in, but we'll add the kite to this. So I'm going to click on that sketch, that geometry on the sketch, go to the Lattice 2, making sure that I'm dealing with this body. I've got the active body as the Lattice 2, and then add our attachment placement, or Lattice 2, attachment placement, attach placement. Z tangent to edge, we can see that's in there. And let's have a look at where that's being placed. So we can see that's being placed this way, the Z tangent to there. So we need to rotate around the X minus 90 and then rotate around the Y. So minus 90 along there. So we've got that there. Hit OK. And then make sure that placement is selected. Go on to Lattice 2 and come down to attach placement and array and placement, or we can use the toolbar on here and use array and placement. you can see how those placements have been placed along there. Let's go into that sketch and create another line. So let's go from the bottom up and see what happens. And you can see how that's been placed. So it's pointing this way. So I went from the top down, like so, and hit close. It will be placed the other way. So you can see how those are placed in there, depending on which way we go. Let's move these into position. And I might place these 2 points in line, and these 2 points in line, and also these. And we can bring these down, make all these equal. So this line, control click all these, make those equal, and we can move these into position. And we can add constraints if we want. These 2 points, I want those in line as well. There we go. Now we've got those placed, let's hit close. You can see how those kites will have effect. Let's just go into the sketch and change this one around. Let's delete that constraint and just flip this around the other way. So we've got those in there. Let's hit close, and we've got all those pointing in the direction that we want. Now we've got to add a placement to this. So I click on the actual lid and press the space bar. You can see we've got this one here. We've only hidden the lattice pattern there. Let's press the space bar and click on the lid, hide that. So I'm going to add in here, because this is the top. This sits upon the top, so in line with this. Actually, we can use, let's go for this edge and add a placement. Set tangent to edge, and let's try selecting that again. Now the reason why it's not been attached to this is because we haven't looked and set our active body. So you can see if I bring this back, the lid body is the active body. So we need to set this body as active. If I do that, I'm going to be placed in the part design. So I need to come back to the Lattice 2, go to the model. Now this body 02 is active, and I can select, say, this point here and add a placement, attach a placement, and we can set where we want it to actually be placed. So I'm going to go for the hole, actually, this hole here, and select in and click the edge of that, and we're going to go internal CS, and that places that in there. Now let's try that again, and we want this edge. That's better, we've got that edge now. So you can see edge 15 and concentric, so that lays along there. FreeCAD will always highlight the one that it thinks the best in bold. So hit OK, that's on there. Now we need to change back to this lid body, so this one here, and make sure that's active, because if we try to array this against what's been selected at the moment, which is itself, it's going to crash FreeCAD. Make sure you save. Click on the lid body, right click, toggle active body, go back to the Lattice 2 workbench because we've gone into the part design, go to the model. Make sure nothing's selected at first, get yourself positioned. Open up the body that we want to repeat, control click the placement, and then control click the placement subsequence. And then come up to the Lattice 2 and Lattice part design pattern, or this icon here. And that will add that to all of these. Now, as you can see, we've got them all working, but we've got this rectangle in here. So what do? Well, we have a look at the lattice pattern that's been created. We've got options down the bottom here, and we need to ignore the first feature. So we come down, we can see the skip first in body set to false. Open this up, set it to true, click off, and that feature has been removed. So now we can go back to this body and just press the spacebar just to hide it. We can also get rid of these sketches as well. Let's see that sketch is still visible. Just press the spacebar on that. And now we've got the latches and these holes with the ridges all in place. So there's a practical example of how to use the Lattice 2 workbench to create lids that clip into place with holes and to repeat these features around the lid. Allow for you to create enclosures. It can even be used for such things as carpentry as well. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope to see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.